Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fraud Boxer podcast. I got another heavy hitter here, a big one, an influencer, the man himself, Arthur Bedel. How are you doing today?
Hey my man, doing pretty well. What about you?
I'm doing okay. Like I said, it was a long weekend, so we're recovering. It is Monday when we're recording this, but we're getting through it. The day's good. I'm feeling good, so we're making it happen. You do a lot of travel. You been anywhere fun lately?
Yeah, actually, I was in Lima. I'm going to Europe, Oslo, Madrid, Mallorca, and a couple more places coming up. So yeah, I did travel quite a bit.
You do. Every time I ever talk to you, you're either getting back from somewhere or you're going somewhere. I wouldn't be mad about it, but it probably does start to wear on you in time zones. I like to see new things, go new places. That's just what I like to do. It kind of sucks because I feel like travel is going to get restricted again, at least from my side, just because it's just the nature of the world. Whenever we pull back economically in the world, it seems like travel is always the first thing that gets cut. So there might be a little more travel happening under the podcast name instead of under my day job name. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out because I like to go places and I still want to go places. So how did we even meet, man? Like, how did that even happen?
So I think like everybody knows you in the industry. So that's one thing to say.
Like
you called me a heavy hitter, but come on now. Like, let's be real. Like most people know who you are. You've been doing this, which is very well looked at as the podcast. But in general, I'm pretty sure we met at MAG conference. I think it was, what was it?
Was it the DC one? The one that we just had? Or did we meet before?
No, it was the one before.
It was the one in September. It was the
Correct.
one in,
yes, sir.
It was in Orlando, Florida. We're right by Disney, right?
Yes, it was. It was a fun one.
That was like my favorite mag to date. I think was that one. They had a pretty fun one during COVID because like they had to have it. So there was only like 800 people total. It was like 400 merchants and 400 vendors. And that one was pretty cool. I went to that one. That was also in Orlando. And because there wasn't like a whole lot to do during the days because there were so few people, like I just wound up at the pool like 2 days in a row because everything was like done.
Doesn't sound like you at all. Doesn't sound like you.
Exactly. And not my favorite thing to do at these. Not at all. But yeah, so then we had dinner at the most recent DC one, which got like a foot of snow while we were there and we couldn't drink the water in the hotel. That was where you asked the server a question at that nice steakhouse and he just walked away from you. Like,
yes, sir.
He just didn't even care to answer. Like that guy did not want to exist anymore.
Sometimes, but I guess sometimes it is what it is, right? Like you meet people and people love what they do. I think I can say that that's probably us, right? And
yeah,
some people,
100%.
They're just not as fortunate. So like ultimately, I remember the dinner. It was a cool one. I think whenever we met back in Orlando. I mean, let's say Florida will do it to you, right? Like ultimately you will have a good time. It's a good place. DC was very different, but we got to like really dive into things a little bit more, get to know each other. And then Vegas, we saw each other once again. And that was cool too. But
I
Vegas,
really like that restaurant, Bardot. I mean, that's your people, isn't it? Like, isn't that your type of restaurant?
I mean, I am French after all.
Yeah. So how does that place stack up in French cuisine? Because it's called Bardot, it's at Aria, it's one of the nicer restaurants, it's not cheap by any means. I am happy with it, but I get the steak because that's just who I am, but they have like escargot on there and all that stuff. So as a Frenchman, how was Bardot to you?
Okay, one time I can't say 7 because that's just like the answer everyone gives. 7-2
answer. Okay.
7-2.
Okay. So it's not bad, but it's good. Yeah.
It was pretty good.
They were getting on your case about the wine there too. It seems
exactly.
Like the service, like the whole people, like let us run the bill up. Like we're trying to pay you. Like let us run it up, guys. Like,
I know. No, but it was good. In general, right? Like just to finish up on the topic of French food, because I can talk about this for like ages.
I would prefer. This is what people come here for, actually.
I guess so. Well, in this case, like I think we should probably create a different podcast. But in general, I would say, whenever you have good bread, good wine. In the US, a little bit of butter, but in general, just good bread, good wine. Maybe some oysters. I think we had the seafood tower.
Oh yeah, we did it because I've been chasing that seafood tower for a minute, and like, we got towered up. Yeah, I'm a seafood tower guy right now. Actually, I just went. It was my girlfriend's 40th birthday 2 weeks ago, and we went. She doesn't eat seafood at all, but the steakhouse that she wanted to go to has surf and turf, and I had to surf it up, man. I had to. Granted, the portion was a little small, but it's still I didn't finish my whole dinner, so there was always that. I guess can't complain.
I was gonna say, you're saying the portion was a little small, but they didn't finish dinner. I guess the portion was right.
Well,
maybe
my lobster tail, it was 4 bites, and I'm like,
oh,
so that, but and for $49, I feel, I should have had a couple more bites, but it is what it is. It is a really nice place. It's called Branch Chop House, Old Branch Chop House here in Southern California, in Orange County. Everybody, highly recommend it if you're in this area. You're looking for a steakhouse because there's only like 3 decent ones around. I love food. By the way, let's talk about bread real quick, and then we'll get into the real meat and bones of this thing. So you said butter and bread.
Yes, sir.
Is butter a thing in France? Like, do you use a lot of butter? Do you use no butter? Do you get your baguette and you eat it dry? Like, what is the rules here?
Well, the French cuisine, let's say in the north, right, uses a lot of butter. As you go to the south, more olive oil. But in general,
because people are more shirtless in the South,
Exactly. But to be honest, you can't really compare American food and US food just because of regulations and everything else. Some people will still eat some butter. I feel like, as the world is becoming more global, whenever you have people coming to Paris is very touristic. So you have, you need to accommodate the taste of everybody. I am just happy with my bread. Like, just give me my bread, like good baguette. I don't need anything else. A tradition.
So I've been watching some of the cooking shows and stuff, and I always notice they use a tremendous amount of butter. And I was reading an article the other day, was a Reddit article, and it was like, why does food at restaurants taste so much better than food you cook at home? And the first comment was, do you see the amount of butter we use in real restaurants? Because that's people would never use sticks and sticks of butter at home, but that's what restaurants are doing to make those sauces and stuff, so yeah.
I mean, it changes everything, right? If you go to a restaurant, you don't really go there to just eat healthy. You go there to eat something good.
I'm indulging when I'm at a restaurant. I'm indulging.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So let's get back on track here, because I can talk about food all day. Maybe we should just start a food podcast, just add it to the list. I just started another one too, by the way. Actually, we're recording the pilot tonight. Okay. Story for another day. It's the neighbors were just chit chatting about life, more entertainment style. But it'll be fun. When it finally comes out, I'll link it in somewhere, somebody. That's my dog. He just had.
He's like, attention, Dad.
He got neutered the other day. But not the light.
Oh, snap.
Light, I need the light. He got neutered the other day, so he's got his little surgical smock on, and it's been a week, and he's really not happy about it. Okay. So let's get back to the actual, what we're supposed to be talking about here on the show. And that's who you are, why you're here, and what your company does, and why we need it in our industry. So let's talk a little more about you. Obviously, you're French, you like food. What else?
Well, there's a lot, right? Okay, French originally, as we said, but what most people don't know about me on that front is I come from a super small town, 500 people, more chicken and cows than actual people, tiny. And most people that live 10 minutes around don't even know the town exists. So it's crazy. I was a tennis player, so I obviously failed because I ended up in payments, but I guess that's a good thing.
How far did you make it in tennis?
I actually tried to go on tour. So when I was 16, I played some futures, for the ones who know, which is professional, but I can't really say I passed a lot of rounds. But in general,
do you still play?
Really tried. I do, but it goes by waves. So sometimes I'll play and then I won't go and don't play. My good friend, also named Arthur Bedel, he's up 100, he's in 50. And yeah, when I see him play, makes me feel like I need to get back on the court.
Yeah. When you play, are you still good when you play? Does it come back pretty quick?
Let's grab some rackets and go hit the ball.
Do I look like a tennis player? Okay.
We'll golf.
The only thing I do is 16-ounce curls. But no, I do.
But yeah, no. So played tennis. Candidly, started connecting dots and payments with Marcel Van Hoest. He's really the center of it. Like originally, he created connecting dots in fintech. When I got into the payment space, I started like, just trying to post a little bit here and there on what was happening in the payment space. I realized I didn't know anything. Most people don't either. I don't think there's any expert in the payment space. It evolves so quickly and dynamically.
It's really hard now. It's like there's so many different little pieces. Like you find most people just know the basics of every little piece, and then they hire somebody that's an expert in that one thing, which is kind of like what we'll talk about with you guys here.
So yeah, kind of started that. It's, long story short, it's like a media platform, as well as kind of, we're trying to create the source of truth for payments. So like, a place where people that are new to the industry, I want to say like people that have been in the industry for a while, but just in general, like where all the news are centralized, where educational content is also there, and ultimately we're gonna start, very much expanding that. I think we have a very, very well engaged community.
Yeah, and, I've noticed.
Very thankful for everyone. Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed that. How long have you guys been doing that? Connecting the dots and payments?
I think Marcel created Connecting Dots in Fintech about 7 years ago, and then we partnered to really develop and scale Connecting Dots and Payments, so more payments focused, right, which is part of Fintech. About a year and a half ago. But yeah, that has been fun. It's kind of started as a side thing. Now it's scaled. I think right now I kind of have like a flywheel, right, where that is one piece, and then I also I'm the global director of Res for VGS, which is a tokenization company. I think we'll talk a little bit more about that one, but everything kind of contributes, right? Like if you think about it for a second, when you have a network, that network is hyper valuable. And the reason that you create it and maintain it is because like you're trying to build genuine relationships with people. It doesn't have to be transactional. I mean, funny enough in the payment space, but that's the reality of it. And those relationships, and also like talking to people like you and others that are pretty well versed in their area. Well, it gives me knowledge. I didn't invent hot water. I kind of say pretty often, but because I talk to guys like you, I can then also have a better understanding of what's happening in the space on the different global markets and everything else. So everything kind of fits in well.
That's where like, it comes up a lot, not so much on the show while I'm recording, but either like when the mics are off or when I'm talking about the show.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people ask like, how does my company, how does my day job feel about this? And like, there's some ground rules that we have established. Like I can't take sponsorships from companies we do business with because obviously conflict of interest. But they actually like that I do it because I talk to people like you and I learn about the things that are happening in the industry. So it in its own way keeps me like in the know about what's actually happening. And it's a lot of fun too, but it's really cool to like learn. I like, we put these notes together for the show and everything, but at the same time, like I like when it kind of goes sideways and I can live learn on the show about things. But I mean, you're connecting the dots and payments. Like you have like 60,000 followers. Obviously, Marcel's got almost 300,000. He's very popular. And you guys have several thousand folks here in just on the LinkedIn page alone. So, and you guys are always putting out, I think every single day, even multiple times a day, sometimes you guys are putting out big pieces of information, which are super helpful. So I'll link that in the description, and then I'll link to both of you guys too in the description.
Appreciate you.
So yeah, hey, you know what? If I can, maybe I can get you one or two more of them on those. Just one or two more.
Hey, I'll take them if they come from you. Always.
Yeah. See, then they're deep, meaningful connections. They're lifelong.
I know, and they'll teach me about fraud as well, right? Like ultimately, so I'm excited.
They might even commit it against you. So like, see, one can only hope. I was watching a YouTube video before this, and it was a guy that was like he was on the Discord forums, and just going through all the people that are trying to, like, they call it reselling, where they're selling just knockoffs like AirPods and shoes and stuff, and just arguing with them. It was interesting, It was like people are just starting to figure out like what fraud and scams are, and it's like kind of going super mainstream. But it's weird to see so much like content up. Hey everybody, interrupting your video to talk about this week's sponsor, Disputed. Have you ever wished that your chargeback platform was built by merchants who've actually lived the pain of chargebacks firsthand? Well, after years in the trenches, running payments and risk at scale, Disputed has built what we've all wanted, a smarter, more strategic way to manage disputes. Purpose-built for enterprise businesses, Disputed goes beyond automation. They prioritize high-impact cases, tailoring responses to issuer behavior, and learning from every case to improve outcomes over time. It's chargeback management that's actually aligned with performance, not just process. Big thanks to Disputed for backing the Fraudboxer community. Please visit them at www.disputed.ai to learn more about how their solution is actually changing the chargebacks game. Now, back to the episode. Shall we talk about VGS?
Let's talk about it.
So what is it? What does it mean? Because I think the name's hilarious to me. So what is it?
Let's keep it to VGS, though. I'll tell you what the acronym stands for. It stands for Very Good Security. So the company kind of started at first as a universal token vault, right? So very much in the security space. Mm-hmm. I think it was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But it really started as a security company helping PCI, simply like doing the tokenization component of it, and then vaulting. And it kind of remained there. And then as, you know, the networks have been very much investing in the tokenization technology, VGS kind of expanded its reach. And now it's really became like a payments company. Hence why, you know, joining. I think the vaulting component is something that you can find in many places. The how you do it is important. But then tokenization itself, there's a lot of evolution, innovation, disruption happening at that level. And I think, you know, for me, when I was at Nuvei before joining VGS, I was acquiring, issuing, orchestration, a little bit of this. But to me, I wanted to kind of go into the core and the foundation of payments. And people forget that payments is data. And so like tokenization is basically, you know, taking sensitive data or all type of data. You can tokenize anything and putting it into a token. And then at this point, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it.
So let's take one quick step back. Hopefully everybody that's listening to this knows what a token is. Can you describe in your words what tokenization means and what people could do with it specifically?
Yeah. Tokenization in the payment space specifically, because there are two types of tokenization, right? Like, and not to be confused. One of them is the one that we know, which is like PCI, right? Which is more so taking card information. And I'll give you an example, but let's say that today I enter my card information in a checkout. Well, that checkout, you know, my card credentials are going to be passed to the merchant normally. No. When that happens,
classically.
When that usually happens, what happens is now the merchants, if they were to have my card information just as they are, if they get hacked for whatever reason, someone can come, take all of that nice little data and use it to make a purchase anywhere else. So there was something called PCI and PCI regulations that was put in place, which is to protect cardholders' data. But what tokenization is you basically take the data and you basically replace it with a token. And that token, unless detokenized, right, holds the information, but you cannot use it anywhere. And so that's the value of it. It's adding like a layer of security in the digital space specifically. It can also be applied to an extent in the POS space, but in general, it's more for digital transactions.
Yeah. So, you know, years and years and years ago, more than 10 years ago, there was token companies that existed, but they were kind of making their own tokens. They were doing it on their own here. And, you know, some people would do it. I think most people didn't, but I think what really happened is when Target got breached in like 2013 is when people really started to try and like be like, okay, there has to be a better way to store payment credentials. And they started the tokenization. This has existed forever and ever and ever. It's just how many people were using it. And I can't think of a single company now that isn't using it. A lot of times there's a couple of things that came out. Like hosted payments page was one of them, to where the payment processor is actually hosting that form where you enter the credentials.
Yep.
So that you as a website are never actually touching the credentials. And then hopefully you tokenize and vault right then and there. And that makes it so you never touch an actual full pan, which is what you really don't want. Like if you have a full pan anywhere on your site, like scream about it somewhere and fix that, because you have way more headaches than you need to deal with when services exist. Call VGS.
Yes.
But there's some of the new things. There's like there's these companies historically would make their own tokens. And then like you said, now the networks are getting involved and they have network tokens that are more independent of that. Now, are you guys manufacturing network tokens, right? for yourself that can
Yeah,
be used?
we're a token requester. We do provision network token. So for instance, I mean, let's take a step back, right? Like
Sure.
as I was saying, the card details. Well, usually it's the PAN, the primary account number, right? So that gets tokenized. And originally you would have merchant tokens, right?
That
And
was
then you
the
also
old
have
days.
PSP
Yeah.
tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you
The
have
PSP
PSP
tokens is what
tokens.
they still try to push because they want you locked in
Yeah,
their ecosystem. They don't want you coming off
correct.
network. But yeah.
Yeah, I love you saying that. Like me not saying it is even better. And then you
Yeah,
have network
I'll
tokens.
I'll take the heat for those. I know what you guys are up to, all you local PSPs. You know, I
Hey,
know you want us
I
locked
don't,
in. You don't want
I
us
don't
moving to
do,
multi acquiring.
not me, not me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, no,
ultimately,
you
like
guys,
I'm on the
you're not
opposite.
the dog in this fight. I am.
I'm not the dog. But yeah, like network tokens, what they basically did is they created a token that kind of skips one layer. And so the acquirer doesn't need to detokenize it, right? And it goes directly through a network to the issuer. And so like those tokens, there is regular network tokens, card on file tokens, and then there's e-commerce tokens. And e-commerce tokens, like for the little history, was basically created for Apple. So that's, you have your phone and you have that information that is tokenized whenever you use Apple Pay. And that can be used for any merchants or with any PSPs. And so that is why they basically created that e-commerce token that is now kind of really starting to go mainstream.
Yeah, and for merchants like me, it's really not only for the PCI. It's a lot easier just to like do card updates and all those sorts of things. Like if
Yeah.
people get a new card or if an expiration date hits and they get a new card, like to get those and then get those things pushed. And we'll talk about that maybe in a little bit here. So what else? What else is going on over there at VGS right now?
Well, there's a lot, right? Like, I guess, tokenization, as I said, if you think about it, and I'm not
That's your
gonna
primary.
divulge
That's like your dance move,
secrets.
right?
Well, yeah, because there's so much happening in that space alone. You look at PSPs, that's where I come from, and they have so many different services, so many payment methods, so many valued services, so many like lines of business with acquiring, gateway, orchestration, and so on, fraud services as well, etc. Tokenization, the technology itself, right? There are multiple types of token that you can create. It's just one big word. It's very general. But then if you actually go into details, there's so much happening. What VGS, I think, and why it's extremely well positioned is a couple things. Number one, it really understands what tokenization can do and the use cases that can come out of it. The company, ultimately started with cards, but now there's a major shift in the industry, which is, hey, let's start seeing how we can link payments to identity.
Passkeys,
Right.
baby, passkeys.
Correct. So there's a lot of things that are happening that are going to be based on the tokenization aspect. So we're really much looking forward to all of those changes. And then another major component is, of course, as I said, it's not just for cards. You can actually tokenize anything. And so maybe we'll start playing in the realm of other type of credentials. The company is hyper innovative in the platform that it created to make sure that the services, right, that we offer that can kind of enhance the tokenization and the tokens themselves and the data inside of it and give you more data and enable more routing and be completely universal. That platform that is created is extremely innovative in the sense that it's the simplest that I've ever seen to be able to be used.
Yeah, I think to your point of like, what else can you tokenize is such an interesting way to look at things because you can do so much. And like the identity tokens with the passkey thing, I think that's for me personally, I've said it a bunch of times, is the most exciting innovation that's come out probably in the last 10 years is being able to have biometric authentication quick and easy. But I don't think we're going to have a breakthrough until there's a liability shift that comes with it. That's what
there's this. Yeah, there's this. To me, there's also a little more, right? Like if you think about one step further, once you have the identity components, like tokenization can also be applied to financial services, right? Because token can store more than just identity. You can start create history. You can really put a lot of things in there.
If I could have a thing where I could just boop and share with you securely,
correct,
and you know that it's me, but whatever piece of it, like my whole identity on there, that's secure and easy, that would be so cool. One of the things and this is going to be hard for me to articulate, and I shouldn't be talking about it, but I know that I'll never build it, is for privacy conscious folk, ways to use tokens to where their address, their identity is never shared with a merchant. Now, merchants will never go for it because they want the data. But think about this.
Of course.
So let's say I wanted to go buy something, and I go onto your site as a merchant, but I don't want you to know who I am or tell you where it's going because I'm I'm a celebrity or I'm, probably up to no good.
Both.
That when you receive that token, that your liability shifted, whoever it is validated, vetted. That's all you need to know. You did your diligence based on the token that was given to you and what it means to be able to receive that token. Now, fulfillment. You probably think about fulfillment. Okay. So that token then is shared to a 3PL shipping facility or whatever it is. And that's the one that puts a label on the box. But again, it doesn't say like where it is or what it's going. They're the ones that stick it on it. So essentially, at the end of the day, a person could make an end-to-end secured purchase that the merchant is completely liability shifted from fraud claims or anything without anybody ever knowing it's done, like a complete anonymous transaction. Now, merchants will never do it because they want the data. They want the demographic data. They want to know what's selling where it's going, that sort of thing. And maybe you could do that again with the token. You could do general information, but not give away PII, But there's more here.
There's so much more, and I think you're touching on 3 points that I want to touch on. The first one is, as I was saying at the beginning, there's 2 types of tokenization, the PCI one, and then the one that's happening on the blockchain. Blockchain can be anonymous, so this could be there. The second piece, if you use PCI, like the type of tokenization we're talking about right now, well, who has the data? Well, the issuers will, and the networks will also get it, and ultimately, like, the reason that network tokens are there is also for this, right? Like it's having control over the data and who sees it and like potentially even make it something that you have to pay for as a merchant to get access to it. And the third piece is you have to see what's happening in the tokenization space, right? And I think that's important. I think we're seeing in the payment space, and that's kind of already there, present. It's booming. Okay. It's the fact that multi-PSP is massive, right? Like every merchant wants to have redundancy. They want to have the choice. They want to have the convenience.
We're doing this project right now. Yep.
All right. And so like one thing that's hyper important is the fact that if you control your data, right? So you have your own vault in which you have your own tokens. Well, now you can kind of send those tokens, as I was saying, right? That are universal to any PSP, to any of the PSPs you want. And so now you really have full control over the experience that you want to offer within your payments company, who you work with, who you don't. And that's another piece, right? Like I think as we have seen that trend of evolution towards multi-PSP, because back in the day, it wasn't like this. Back in the day, it was like, I want to centralize all of my eggs in one basket because I would have the absolute best pricing that I could get. Today,
all the volume. Yeah.
Today is not the same.
And it is so funny because like I've been saying, I have a ton of merchant friends, and I would say most of them, probably 75% of them now have multi-acquiring, especially the ones that are globalized. But when I was a domestic movie ticket website, I mean, even at $500 million, we had a full redundant backup processor just in case. And I only ever saw us fall back to it twice.
I mean,
but
like is a lot.
Those twice was everything, And now, like, you see it a lot more like region by region. It seems like, like there's just certain PSPs that are stronger in certain regions, especially to our point of tokenization and things like Apple Pays and these mobile wallets. These localized regions have their own payment methods. And in order to connect to those, usually you have to have some sort of processor that's like stronger in a certain area, like having, checkout for the Middle East or like for APAC, or Audion for most of Europe, or even, like again, the Middle East, North Africa, those sorts of things where you can plug in just like you're paying for it, but like you're getting it. And that's the thing is like people always be like, well, for us, almost 90% of our traffic is credit cards, but that other 10%, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, is not credit cards. And we need to make sure that we are having people paying in the exact way that they can and want to pay, especially in emerging markets where like they might not have a credit card, but they'll have Pix or they'll have Grab, like these smaller things. I mean, Grab is pretty fucking big.
I mean, look, like funny enough, Grab is gigantic, but I was in Lima, right? Like in Peru, I was with NTT Data. I gave a keynote there. And I think 85% of all transactions are done with Yape, and it's an account-to-account digital wallet. And like you go to Peru, you have to have that as a method. Otherwise, like it's tough. But then like same thing. Like think about it for a second, right? Like what if you don't have just a direct integration to Yape? What if you have multiple integrations within your stack and like one fails? Well, how do you then have redundancy there? So like the problem that you're seeing for multi-PSP with cards, the same thing applies to kind of all types of payment methods.
Yeah, one of the things that like I always joke about, because like we have a philosophy at my day job where we're like, we'll take any payment, no matter where, no matter when, as long as we can. And I always joke that like people are going to have to just scroll down the checkout page. It's just button after button after button after button because it's just like horrific. So, we try to make sure that we're only displaying what's relevant for that market, but
you know what can help with that? Tokenization.
Well, we tokenize,
guess what?
we do.
So guess what? Let's say that, and I'm going to give a perfect use case, right? Let's say that I'm Arthur, right? Which this is real. And I go to a merchant and I work with one PSP. And now the merchant has identified that the token that is used for the purchase, I use this payment method. Well, the next time that I come to a different merchant, potentially within the same ecosystem of the PSP, why isn't the payment method that I used already at the top? Right? Like it should be, and tokenization can enable that because literally like you will have seen the same token.
So there was another, so let's talk about in-person payments for a minute and something that happened to me this last summer. Really fucking cool. I was at the Oregon State Fair. I was up visiting my family and I was at the Oregon State Fair and Square, Block had apparently like got the contract for all of the liquor booths, like all the little stands throughout. So they all had to use these Square terminals. But the very first one, it asked me my email. Boop, right? I tapped my card. Very first one.
Okay.
Every transaction, no matter where I was in that state fair the rest of the day, when I would tap my card, would automatically email me that receipt. That was brilliant. That was everything. And I don't understand because why isn't Toast doing that too? Because Toast has like cornered almost all of these like mom and pop restaurants and bars right now, which I love, by the way. I think Toast is awesome. But I wanted to know that when I stick that same Amex in there to automatically email me the receipt to the business email so I can write that shit off. Automatic. I need it. But it was one of the best things. And I think, there's all these checkout companies, like Bolt was a great example of it. ShopPay is trying to do it, where they are trying to make it cross-platform. So no matter where that's plugged in, if you click it, boom, you get the same checkout experience. You don't have to fill out anything, which I think is smart. But I think that more PSPs need to invest in that sort of experience for merchants like me at the end of the day.
So, like, funny enough, I'll give you a recommendation. There's a company out there, I think, and before naming that company, if you think about it for a second, orchestrators have connections to different PSPs, right? And so if they also have a one-click checkout, then potentially they can solve for that. A great example that's doing device fingerprints, they use device fingerprint to do what you just literally mentioned, is Deuna. Deuna is a company that does it extremely well. DEUNA, I think it is.
I think I've talked to them.
You have? Interesting.
Cool guys. I have not talked to them. I just saw their logo. I have not talked to them, but I see there's a unified platform for simplified global payments.
Yeah,
it's
it's pretty cool. I mean, they are, but they also have one-click checkout. I think if you kind of bring both of them together, and then you have the underlying piece and component, which is tokenization, then you can have something really cool. And that's the type of experience that you look at all marketplaces. They're kind of trying to do this.
Well, I mean, Pays has tried to do it too. And now who just bought them? Was it Early Warning? They're
Early Warning.
Early Warning. They're part of it.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got like some of the banks, like even my bank has the partnership of Pays, like Capital One.
Well, you know why, right?
Because they're over the partnership with Zelle already, so they're just
because it's an attempt to remove some of the dependency that merchants have and banks as well have on Apple Pay. So they're trying to create their own experience.
So I was running my payment numbers the other day, and I'm not going to say it because obviously it's secret sauce. I was flabbergasted at my Apple Pay coverage now. Like, I guess I just hadn't been paying that much attention, and I was like, oh, we got to really work on our Apple Pay strategy now. But I mean, it's to the point where me personally, I use it so much when I'm like shopping on my phone that basically if your site doesn't have it, I'm probably not buying it because I'm not going to go get my wallet. I'm just not going to do it.
I'll take it back to tokenization. Apple is actually releasing M-Pens. So Apple's like talking about tokenization and how like different tokens, right? Like Apple has a DPAN, so device network token, right?
Yep.
That is a problem because think about it for a second. You have a subscription type of business for whatever reason, right? You basically lose your phone or lose your card, whichever is specifically your phone. You lose your device, you have to change your device, whatever reason. Well, the network token that was created is not working anymore. So what they did now is they created M-Pens, which is merchant pens. So even if you lose your device, the network token is still going to be active.
Apple's
so
doing
now,
this?
yeah. So because they know they have a problem with subscription. So now they're launching M-Pens and we're going to launch it actually. But yeah, they're launching M-Pens. And I know that in beta, there has been, I'm going to give a range so that I don't get, as you said, canceled. But, the increase in conversion has been between 15 to 20%.
Okay, I like
on
it.
subscriptions.
Yeah, well, Adam, if you're listening and you worked on that, good move. I like that product. So, I was just like, it's just weird to see the adoption grow so fast. I think as people become like, my girlfriend is a great example where she just didn't feel comfortable using Apple Pay, and I was like, you should feel the most comfortable using Apple Pay. And I mean, it took a while, which now she uses it more, but I'm talking, she only started using it in the last 2 years. And like, I've done this for all 10 years we've been together. Like, I've done this and she still didn't feel comfortable using it. Well, and I use it at my watch at Subway.
Taking it back to frauds, to me, like digital transactions are going to be probably more secure over time than in-person transactions with your card. And the reason I'm telling you this is because like someone can steal your card, go anywhere, tap it. Nobody's asking for the PIN.
I've noticed the rise of tap to pay is like everything these days.
Right. But if you're online and now you have, for example, an experience where you have to use a biometric, right? It's a lot harder to actually do a biometrics, get access to the cards and everything else. You have to unlock the device and everything. It's a lot more secure in my opinion, but that's again.
Well, this has been a super interesting, fun conversation about tokens. Now, obviously, you guys are working on some things that you've talked about a little bit here. So talk about some of the trends and some of the new stuff that you guys at VGS are seeing, predicting, building, all those sorts of things.
Well, I think one of them we talked about linking payments to identity. I think tokenization is the perfect technology for this. And then, as I said, kind of moving away from just cards as a credential on the tokenization. To me, it's kind of crazy the fact that, if someone steals your card, you can close your card, right? Report it, you're good. If someone steals your account number, like that's way worse. So that's another piece. I have a feeling for some reason, once there is a regulatory entity that's going to get in place, that bank accounts and all of those type of digital wallets, etc., all those credentials and that kind of sensitive data is going to be also within, I don't know if PCI, but sometimes are required standards that will be put in place so that information is secure. So that's one. Number two is AI. I think this is no.
Here we go, everybody.
AI. I mean, agentic purchasing. A lot of people are talking about it. So basically leveraging AI agents to complete purchases on your behalf. I think this is extremely interesting. I mean, this is where the world is going. Tokenization will play a role in this. More to follow on this front. But I mean, like, for example, I think it was today, CEO of PayPal started talking about it. I think I'm on the board of a couple companies. The use cases of AI and how AI is being leveraged is something that's basically being spoken everywhere. Like it is in a way kind of a fall-on switch. The impact is going to be as big as the .com, if not bigger, because of efficiency, because of new use cases. Like, I mean, a lot of the thing, it's revolutionizing the world. So,
I mean, I definitely, I don't shy away from how much I use it for just this podcast alone. Like I make it listen to it, I make it do the show notes, I make it write the summaries. There's some correction things that I've had to use in the past, and some of the tools where I can like highlight the words around and I can change a word and it will mimic my voice and fill in the word. Like if I said like the wrong word or I said like the wrong pluralization of it, and it'll even do it. They have one thing. Well, I mean, it's gotten better, but like they had this thing where it makes your eyes look like you're looking at the camera, But the problem is it doesn't blink.
Oh no.
Your eyes are just locked in, and it looks hilarious. I should like just do a piece of it. I wonder if it'll let me do a piece of it like right now. Like
Good
I'll
try.
try if I can. For people who are watching, I'll see if I can make it do the eye lock because it's creepy. But
Okay.
so that like there's little things like that. But I've been using it more and more for creating like like rough sketches of things where like I try to like I have a thought in my head and I want to visualize it. So I've been using like Sora to take the idea in my head and see what it's like visually, not to use it for actual art or anything like that, but to kind of spot check my ability to vocalize an idea to see if it gets it right. And like some of them are pretty cool. Like I'm getting this new tattoo on Friday, and I had a very specific idea in my mind, and I really like prompted it out, and like I sent it to the guy. Like I don't want him to use it as a stencil because obviously it's AI and he's gonna get pissed about that. But like I want this, it's like so him and I are on the same page about what I'm doing. So like he doesn't start doing art days before I get there. Only to have it be completely not what I'm looking for, and then we got to start all over. It's like efficiency thing. So he can make it his own, but get the idea of where I'm going. So,
I mean, I think AI, like in the way that it's being used, I mean, we can look at operational processes, but when I think about AI in this case, I think everyone should be using it. I mean, I use it on a daily basis, and different AIs are good for different things. But if I look at it, to me, it's about hyper personalization. It's also about combating frauds, right? Like, I mean, patterns recognition is something that has been done in the past. It's also about potentially AI can be applied to optimization in so many different ways. But then you have like crazy use cases, which is what I was talking about, agentic purchasing and everything surrounding that.
That's where I think a lot of people are getting scared is like the shopping agent purchasing, whether that be concierge services or whether that be like ticket brokers, scalpers.
All I can say is there's a lot happening, and it's a lot more present than futuristic.
Yeah. I always laugh at the new the AI agents as far as like answering the phone for scammers and stuff and just letting them talk to them. I think that's going to run away with itself. I did finally everybody's been making fun of like Meta for doing these like AI profiles, which I still don't quite know what they're doing. I finally got the thing, add an AI profile. Like why? Why do I want like an AI profile on Instagram with AI photos that has AI conversations with me? Like I'm not that lonely yet. Idea. Maybe soon, maybe soon. But we're gonna need a different type of AI.
Opa.
Yeah. So what else we got?
I guess and one more piece. I mean, if I think about it, right, it's been around, but like the evolution of payment methods. So like how consumers pay. And I think, as right now there has been so much work done on cards and making sure that like, the regulations in place and everything else. I see that like we're very late on other things. I mean, like for example, you look at WeRoll, you look at Blue Code, you look at those payment methods in Europe, open banking,
all the super
all of
apps that we just can't get traction here.
That
like
too.
They just don't work here.
Well, like I have a feeling that there will be a lot of super apps very quickly. I have a lot of stakes. I think that POS systems are going to disappear. I think that everything will be digital wallets will rule the world.
POS systems are already getting a lot more easy to deal with from me as a consumer. It used to be, except for the tip part, that sucks. But like it used to be, like, are they going to take this payment method? What kind of, like, they got to hand them the card, got to get a weird receipt. Now almost everybody they'll take every type of card, everything's tap to pay, EMV, email receipt. And that for me is like a huge game changer.
I'll give you a food for thoughts, but why do merchants need to integrate to each payment method? Why can't a consumer just download an app and pay anywhere they want?
So that's an excellent idea.
Right.
I think from me, speaking from a merchant standpoint, is I want to control the fees that I have for the type of payment. I think, for SMBs like that use Stripe for their payments in brick and mortar, it doesn't matter as much to them who pays what, because they're paying the 3.5% and the 30 cents every single time.
Yeah.
So they don't care if people are paying with bananas, as long as like, they're getting the same amount of money deposited into their account. But for me, on a more sophisticated merchant, I pay very different rates for different types of cards. This is where Visa's flexible credentials comes in, because I know they try to spin it like it's going to be easy for the consumer, but what they're really trying to do is take away my debit routing. That's all that they're trying to do.
Again, like at the benefit of not getting canceled, I will. But in general,
He's
yeah,
the only one that doesn't come on my show. MasterCard comes on my show all the time.
If you think about it for a specific reason, right? Like every time there's a new product initiative, there's a main reason behind it. I guess the last trend that I'll tell you about is I think that tokenization is going to go beyond payments and into financial services. I think that like transactional data and payments data, everything is about data, right? Like it's also going to enable more embedded financial products to be available and to be provided with the right security, I guess, to consumers, to businesses and everything else. And all of this can just be stored in a token. So like so much happening, AI, embedded finance, but like at the core of it, like I see even multi-PSP, like everything relates to orchestration, even if you don't have connectivity, passing tokens around. All of this identity, to me, it's all based on tokenization. So a lot happening in this space.
There really is. I mean, I think tokenization, to your point, is probably one of the most exciting spots to be. I mean, not only for the payment credentials, but like I said, for the passkeys. Passkeys are my most exciting thing. I've told the MRC that my middle name is Passkey, and they actually just call me Passkey now. But I do think that there's going to be a lot more focus than people realize. So if you're not getting your token game straight, everybody, I would work on that. I will put links to VGS if you want to call them to help token game straight. Because it sounds like they're going to be able to cross that bridge between the different types of things that'll be offered. But I do think the identity stuff's going to be cool. Eventually, you'll be able to like just apply for a loan, which is, just send in, here's all my information and one quick thing. You don't have to worry about them being breached. You don't have to worry about your privacy. All that can all be taken. So yeah. So any final thoughts, man?
No, man, this was fun. Like we should do this more often. Maybe next time we'll grab a beer afterwards.
I was just thinking that I would like to do this more often because we literally completely went off script and just shut the shit there. And I think we had a pretty cool conversation. So let's make this a semi-regular thing. Happy to do that. Do you guys do anything like this on your connecting the dots and payments?
Yeah, we're there's a little surprise coming up soon. But
why don't I exist on that surprise at some point?
You'll most likely be there, and by most likely I mean definitely.
I like it.
So I'll have you on there. We'll do this in person, and there'll be a cool little one. By the time that this video is probably live, it will be live.
It'll probably be out.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, everybody, Arthur Bedel, VGS, connecting the dots and payments. I'll put links to all of those things down below. Click on him, add him. He's only got like 800,000 people that are following him on the LinkedIn. So be another one. But like I said, high quality one. So high quality followers. So thanks again, man, for your time. And everybody else, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to visit our sponsor who made this episode possible, Disputed. Their website is www.disputed.ai. Learn how they are actually changing the chargebacks game because they've lived it with us for years. Disputed isn't just another chargeback vendor. It's an AI native platform built by merchants who've lived the pain of chargebacks firsthand. After years in the trenches, running payments and risk at scale, they built what we needed all along, a smarter and more strategic way to manage disputes. Again, that website is www.disputed.ai. Please visit them and learn more about how they are actually changing the chargebacks world. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks.